Hopefully we're back. And hopefully we will be all okay. Adam Sanderson disqualified from third on the grid. I think we are still having some issues. So unfortunately, everybody that is just joining us in once again, this is what we're going to have to deal with. Unfortunately, we're going to have to sit and watch it. A little bit stuttery, but we are going to get ready to go. Thankfully, the camera angle really helping us out as well. Looking at the back of everybody's car, but with 5 lights for the finale of the F2 season. It is lights out and away we go. No delay this time as we've seen in previous races. G-Watt's good start on those super soft tyres. You would imagine going to gain places off the line. F1 out straight away past Adam Sanderson. Matty D13 picking up positions as well on the run down into turn number 2 and the Tamburello chicane. G-Watt's comfortable out in front. Dirt Chocolate losing places surprisingly enough on the super soft tyre as we all file through very nicely. No contact further back. Scott dropping down to last place. That is not what he needs. F1 Out's putting Dark Viper, under pressure into the Villeneuve chicane and forces that Campos through up into second place. Disaster for Dark Viper. Good news for Sproat, but that second Invicta car has also lost places.
Yeah, and those places we're expecting to see lost, and there's Adam Sanderson down the inside, and all of a sudden, Matty's also going to make the jump through, and needs to in the early stages on the super soft tyres, really trying to make sure that he gets through. Dark Viper not having the start that he wants from second down to 5th, but 2 he maybe couldn't help, and 1 he could, and Adam Sanderson, he's now got a lot of work to do now to bring those points together. But the good news is that Sproat's dropping at a similar rate as well. If those 2 are together, their strategies will come back later on in this race. Massive scrapping in the middle of the pack.
Yes, Dirt Chocolate sending it out the inside of Damien into the chicane, and that forces the LT offline with 3 wide, with Dale trying to force his way through as well as the Red Bull livery car runs wide of the exit of turn number 15. Here we go, down into Rivatsa through the kink of 16. Who's going to be last of the late breakers? Dale, it's been a good recovery from that disqualification in qualifying. Said he was going to start at the back of the pack, but does get up into 9th place using that super soft tyre to his advantage. G-Watt's comfortable out in front, nearly a second to F1 Alex, and then Adam Sanderson 1.5 seconds back under pressure from Matty D. 13 on the run down into turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, and now this is where you're going to have to start scrapping. Matty to the inside, no shock as he gets past Sanderson, but Adam Sanderson's going to have to look behind because Dark Viper is going to immediately try and pounce and get back through with any opportunity that he can. Every chance that he's got to be the leading medium runner, he is going to take, and Dirk now moves through past Sproat, then taking advantage of his tyres while he's got still the goodness in the hotter conditions, of course, here in Italy, so you're going to have to keep that in mind. But a lot of drivers making those moves, and most of them making the moves because they need to. The one driver who isn't is F1 Scott on the super soft, so he's going to be really struggling. He's struggling to get by Hoodie Pete at the moment.
Yeah, and we've got to talk about another position lost for Sproat, dropping behind Dirt Chocolate, as we expect maybe on the super soft tyres for the Rodin Carlin car. F1's got stuck in a little bit of traffic.
Yeah, and that traffic you can sense is frustrating, and it's always awkward when you've not got the ability to use all of the in-car tools at the moment. One car's going to run wide off of the exit there in front. I believe that might be Spray himself here, who's trying to hold everybody together, and there is all sorts of scrapping out there at the moment. Watch out as you've got there GB68. There's yellow flags out then in the 3rd sector because it looks like Hoodie Pete has found himself in all sorts of trouble into the gravel as he's now dropped down to the back of the pack. So now all of a sudden on this straight, here comes the look. B-Roy gonna have to get himself into play as well. Everybody down into the opening section. Easy as you like. Thank you very much. Tamburello's gonna be the key place all day.
Yeah, and Sproat continuing to struggle. Got all of these cars queued up behind the Invicta driver. Dale is going to be first on the scene. Big gaggle of cars behind. That's F1 Scott, is it? Yes, getting a little bit twitchy, though. It's actually Dragonfly's getting twitchy as the 2 ARTs do battle over 10th and 11th. Clattering the curb is B-Roy. Goes straight into his team and now clatters into Dragonflies. And they're off into the pickets on the left-hand side. Into the barrier we go with those 2 drivers. Virtual safety car deployed. Not surprisingly there. Wow.
That was just clumsy, and it's a chain reaction of drivers who want to go and make places early, who need to make places quickly, and that's what happens. When one driver gets it wrong, everybody scrambles to try and find some space, and simply put, there was none over the exit there of Tozer. We always talk about it. Do not put the power down too early out of Tozer. You'll spin it to the inside. That's exactly what we saw, and going to the inside doesn't always pay off. Now, for G-Watts, he built a gap of 1.5 seconds. He's got to try and maintain that, but that calmness is going to be good for the likes of Dark Viper and co, who are going to be able to go through. And those on the super soft are going to be able to extend their tyre life by about half a lap or so because of the fact they're running at reduced speed.
Well, we should also talk about as well in what has become, unfortunately, a glorified radio show with the stream issues we are having. It's Dark Viper down into 5th place, dropping behind Dirt Chocolate on the super soft tyres. We'll have to wait and see if he can come back with the 2 road incarnate cars. Matty D13's done a very, very good job to get up into 3rd place from, I think it was 8th or 9th on the grid. But bolting out in front, like we said, GWATS and F1 Alex. Dragonflies into the pits, unsurprising with the damage that was picked up and actually retired. So that is the playoff hopes completely done now. Confirmed Dragonflies will still be in F2 next season. And only Vic speeding under the safety car down in 16th. Won't make too much of a difference to her position, but does pick up a drive-through penalty, unfortunately enough. With the issues, we're going to have to try and cast as much as possible and tell you everything that is going on. It's currently Tom at the moment in 10th place with Damien right on his tail in the Trident and ART respectively, and then it's F1 Scott is going to be picking up a couple of points from 12th place, but needs to get a move on if he's going to make the use of these softer tyres.
Yeah, and of course may have to just bite the bullet as well. Definitely is going to have to move on to the mediums, and then that's going to be a case of having to pay the Pied Piper back. If you're not in the points on the super softs, and then you got to go on to the more difficult tyre, then that's going to really hit home, and that's not going to be what F1 Scott was looking for here today, and he is going to have to be quite reliant on certain drivers like Dark Viper out there not getting what's needed, Spro 8 not getting what's needed. That gap, of course, is going to 14 that he's got to hold, so P5 confirms it, but if those drivers are attacking late on in the race, watch out for Dark Viper. He could definitely sneak in some points. Bro 8 will also be on a tear too.
Yeah, Dale also on the charge from 13th on the grid. It was trying to take 6th place from Adam Sanson. Dark Viper down the inside into turn number 2, batting away with Dirt Chocolate. Big slide going through turn 1, and Dale's off as well in the background. Perfectly synchronized sliding off the road, and it was the Campos of Dale flying into the gravel as Dirt managed to hold on to 4th place for the time being ahead of Dark Viper with Adam Sanson just behind them. Sproat does get lifted up into 7th place, but as a queue of cars lining up to try and attack this Invicta car. First of all, it's GB on those super soft tyres, batting for 7th and 8th place.
Yeah, and that so easily happens then through the opening section of circuit. That drivers, when they've got themselves cold tyres, first real braking zone after they resume racing, it's so easy just to go straight on. And as we focus here with Spray, keeping GB68 at bay just for the moment, there's the look down the hill. Now it's the long way around. That's a lift. That's a give from Spray. He didn't want to fight that one. He realizes I'm on a different strategy here today to GB68, so I shouldn't battle him. I should let him have the easy move because I'll get that back when I've got tyres that are better for me in this race.
Yeah, very interesting stuff. Spro under huge pressure to try and hold on to these places as much as possible. We'll wait and see if Tom can be the next to relegate that Invicta car further down the field. F1X holding on to the coattails of GWATS out in front, and then it is the 2 road incarnate cars with Dark Viper still trying to get at Dirt Chocolate. I think he's maybe going to have a go. No, it's actually Dirk into the pit, so decide to get away from those purple stripe tyres and will be the first driver to make a representative pit stop.
That's early. I'd feel like he'd wanted to have gone at least 1 lap further, but if he feels he wants to try and get an undercut on everyone around, that might be something of a big strategy. Now, the key here, this is one of the longest pit lanes in the F1 calendar this season. That's going to mean that they're not going to worry so much here today about what they have to navigate in terms of traffic. So in terms of those drivers on the super softs, the one worry they'd have is, what if we build up too much of a gap that we're planted slap bang in the middle of traffic? They don't have to worry about that because they're going to drop almost half a lap, it feels at times, when they have to make that pit stop to get themselves back out and away again up the hill. Mr. Dale makes his way past Sprite. Now Sprite back down into 9th.
Yeah, pressure being put on by Dale after that mistake. We saw him gliding off into the gravel a few moments ago. Does get back up into 8th place and can try and charge back towards Adam Sanderson with GB and Tom currently in the way. It'll be interesting to see if any of these other drivers come into the pits, as that is another big slide from Dale, getting the tail out very nicely indeed there. The Campos driver not going to be doing any good for those rear tyre temperatures, you would have to say, but is still in 8th place at the moment. F1 Scott currently running in 10th just behind this pair. It'll be a crucial move if Scott can get past Sprite, you have to say.
Yeah, and F1 Scott needs to make that pass. It will feel very good psychologically as Matty dives in. In comes Mr. Dale to make a stop, really getting that one slowed up. But yes, there will be that sense that there is a desperation for F1 Scott to get through because he hasn't been able to show what he is capable of doing in terms of where he needs to be. So that's going to be what's going to be asked out of him. Can I find that extra place? On go the medium tyres, and away will go Mr. Dale from his box.
Couple of drivers coming in as well. Matty D, who was the driver just ahead of Dale, into the box for the medium tyres, as well as GB just getting past Adam Sanson for what is 4th place on the road. Those super soft tyres still seem to have a little bit of pace, especially for the Prema driver out in front. George has been closed in on by F1 Axe, we have to say. Half a second the gap now. Will the Campos think about a move? Obviously, F1 Axe is safe in the playoffs. We already know that. GWAT's still fighting tooth and nail to get it. And if he finishes first or second, will certainly be in those playoffs, we have to say. Everybody still, thank you, George, in the chat, who we'll be seeing later on, of course. And everyone has pointed out the lag issues. It is a third-party issue. We've tried our best, but yeah, unable to do anything about that. That's why it's turned into a radio show, effectively, hasn't it?
Well, sometimes you get a little bit of action out of it, and in comes the race leader, GWAT, who will now make his decision to dive in. I'm not surprised with that. F1 Alex has been able to save his super soft tyres a lot better than what GWAT has, and that's going to be crucial. Now, F1 Scott has been bottled up here behind Sproe. Is going to get the chance on the front stretch to make that pass, but a whole lap sat behind. This is not boding well here for F1 Scott and his race. Yes, he moves up to 5th position. Yes, he's definitely comfortably safe in the championship as it stands, but he's due in the next lap or so.
Yeah, it is light work down the straight with the helping hand of DRS and flies past. Got to make the most of what is left of those super soft tyres, you have to say. But it's probably going to be expected into the pits in the next lap or two. GWATS and Tom both into the pits. I think as Dale picks up a penalty for corner cutting. Not been a good day for Dale. Not been a good send-off as he will return to F1 next season after no points in the sprint. And having a few issues, it has to be said, in this race as well. Dark Viper being closed in on by GB. GB seems to have really good pace on these super soft tyres, you have to say. For everyone that can't quite see the gap, it's now under 7/10 of a second. Very interesting to see that the super soft seems to be hanging on very nicely in the mediums. I know it's a 2-step difference in tyre compound, but mediums don't seem to be a great race tyre.
Not at the moment, and this is the issue that you've got. The longer you can extend those super softs, the easier it's going to be, the less you have to bite on the medium tyre. So you really get that understanding as there goes the time penalty in for Luke Howick there at that moment in time. You get the sense that the longer you can stay out on it, the better it is. In comes the race leader, F1 Alex, then 1 lap later. GB68 is going to stay out a little bit longer, but the longer that you stay out, the more likely you're going to put yourself into that puncture range, and that's going to be something of a cause of concern if they do, with so many of these curves, especially the anti-cut variety going through. F1 Scott into the pits, that's a big call.
Yeah, trying to get an undercut maybe on some of the guys around. GB's pace on these super soft tyres is absolutely outstanding as he continues to close up to the back of Dark Viper, who is trying to consolidate his spot in the playoffs. It looks like at the moment with GWAT scoring a very, very decent handful of points as he has done in the last 3 feature races. It is a battle between Dark Viper and Spro, and at the moment Spro is going to be coming off second best. We'll try and do some quick maths for everyone once the pit stop window has closed and everyone has put on their tyres to the end of the race. But at the moment the Invicta driver has certainly got work to do, 6 seconds behind Adam Sanderson.
Well, those drivers you'd be expecting to come in, I would probably say at the earliest here, you're looking lap 11 as the best time to come in. Lap 10, lap 11, that's when you want to go through. And it's going to be easier for those drivers on the super soft to go out there and attack that final stage of the stint because they'll have less fuel in the car here. And because they will have less fuel in that car, the one thing you're going to be really searching at, really looking at is they'll be putting less tyre wear through because the car is a little bit lighter, and because of that, as we watch right now, F1 Damien here thinking about where he makes the move on Spro 8. If you got less to deal with in terms of that tyre wear, there's less that lateral movement of the car, and it's just going to be easier and you can attack a little bit more. Finally, DB68 departs off of his super soft tyres.
We'll have to wait and see when he comes out or where he comes out. Has he been able to use more pace than the drivers that came for an undercut? This is a move that Sproat will not be a fan of, though. Here comes the ART of Damien over to the right-hand side of the circuit. Sproat's got to hold on to as many places as possible, but looks a little bit helpless on the run down into turns 1 and 2. And there's a little bit of contact at the apex and over the sausage curves. We go with the ART. Sproat aggressive in his defense, but it works out, holding on to third place for the time being.
Now, I don't think there was too much wrong with that. They were both fighting for the same piece of real estate. I think it was 6 of one and half a dozen of the other as they both merged onto the same line. So Pro8 did everything possible there to maintain that position in the natural line. There is GB68. He's going to come out behind Matty DNF, as well as F1 Alex GWatts. GWatts has been able to hold that station, but at 4/10, half a second right now, that's probably where the race is. We focus on Dirk, who's going to now try and get in on GB68 in this race, but the key to the race is going to be how much time have those drivers on the mediums lost, and how much are they going to have to work to gain those places and recover it when they come in and make their stop.
Yeah, and GB spat out into the path of Dirk Chocolate in 10th and 11th place. Dirk has been on those tyres for 4 laps. The undercut not really worked out for the Road and Carlin. Lost a couple of places. GB looking very, very good for a decent haul of points in this race. You would imagine will probably chase after Matty D13, who is 3.5 seconds off our net race leaders. Dark Viper into the pits, but that could throw a spanner in the works that we weren't expecting. The net rate, or the race leader before the pit stops, picks up a penalty for speeding in the pit lane. 5 seconds. F1 Scott's going to be loving that down in 14th place. Needs to make up as many places as possible. That's thrown a cat very much into a tree with many, many pigeons.
Pro8 will be the one who's smiling from ear to ear, knowing that 2 points that he needs in 5 seconds in a series like this can evaporate so quickly. So Dark Viper all of a sudden is going to need to have the stint of his season if he wants to make sure he books himself into the playoffs. You look, though, here at the front, Hoodie Pete realizes that through goes F1 Alex, through goes GWatts, and both of them will fly on through without too much care, realizing what they've got to do. They are on fresh mediums. He's on some very used mediums right now, and the question will be when Spro8 decides he wants to jump. Dark Viper's come out behind GB68.
Yeah, but on those super soft tyres, you would imagine we'll probably be able to gain 5 seconds with the advantage the super softs have had. He might be looking for a move up the inside into turn 7. Atosa trying to use the grip that he's got over the Prema driver. GB has got the traction on the exit there, and they're going to fly up towards Piratella of turn 9. It's the Prema that currently has the advantage, but who's going to be braver on the brakes? Dark Viper thinks about the long game, sits behind for now. Just like GB on the previous lap, he was spat out of the pits into the path of Dirt Chocolate as they're going to race now down towards Aqua Minerale. Turns 11, 12 and 13 complex. Very difficult to get it right and still having to stay behind for the time being. Further forward, we saw GWatts and F1 Alex, like we said, getting past Hoodie Pete, and it was the Invicta that was caught up behind Hoodie Pete for that lap, allowing F1 Alex to close back up towards the Invicta car as Sproat, who also picks up a penalty. These guys can't slow down for the pits. This is going to be very interesting to see. We're going to have to wait until everybody crosses the line to know the final results. Look at how close Dark Viper is to the back of the Prema, but runs out of room on the right-hand side. Still runs out of room as GB68 slams that door shut and holds on to 7th. But for only a moment, you would imagine with the DRS, you think that the Van Alstel car is going to fly past, despite tapping the gravel there on the exit of Rivatsa.
Well, now this is where it's important, because the DRS is the Stonewall opportunity to make the pass, and now you're going to see it. Absolutely motors through, and Spro8 is nowhere in sight, and that is exactly what Dark Viper's hoping for. He needs 2 championship points to leapfrog him at this point, and he has got that at this moment, because Spro8, as he comes out of the pits, is 16th position right now. That is everything that you could hope for, and then some. F1 Scott out of the points as well. This is as simple as this. Dark Viper needs 9th place to confirm, 8th place to go forward, and he realizes he's got to catch probably past Hoodie Pete and hope that he can gain 5 seconds on the cars behind. He is in effect racing Adam Sanderson for position.
Well, what's F1 Scott going to be thinking here? He probably won't be aware of the dramas that have curtailed his main rivals for this race. GWatts still with the net race lead, but as the Campos of F1 Alex all over the back of him, as we just see in front of us, that is Dale making another mistake there, going off on the exit of the Aqua Minerale into the grass, and now going straight over the runoff on the right-hand side, using all the track and especially more on the outside as he loses that place to Tom, who's been gaining over the last couple of laps. This could be a very interesting moment, though. On the back of GWATS is F1 Alex. Here is the Campos driver with the DRS flap open. This is his first opportunity to try and take the net lead of the race. B-Roy stayed out. Fastest out goes to Dark Viper. Probably going to need it with the points. Around the outside we go. Is there contact at the apex? No, there's not. F1 Alex clean as you like around the outside as GWATS is relegated down to third on the road. Who's this going slowly? It's a Damsel. I think that is only Vic, and that's potentially hurt GWATS' chances of maybe trying to send it up the inside into the Variante Villeneuve chicane.
Yeah, that could have very easily have been a place to attack back, but there was a little bit of indecisiveness there from GWATS, but he realises his race is not going to necessarily be Alex to the end. There is the sense, though, that B-Roy here has put 12 laps on the medium tyres, has left it out to go in terms of this race. Can B-Roy do something like a no-stop and pull himself back through, or is he guaranteed that he needs to change onto a set of tyres?
I think he's going to have to come into the pits at some point, you would imagine. Let's just have a look at the playoff hopefuls. It's GWATS currently in third on the road. Then we've got Dark Viper in fifth. Those guys looking good. Scott in 11th will pick up, I think, 4 or 5 points. 4 or 5 points. Will that be? Well, it should be enough with Sproat down in 14th. So at the moment, it's Sproat who's going to be knocked out of the top 5.
Yep, so Sproat's on the wrong end of the stick right now, and he's got no way of really recovering back through because he's down in 14th place. He needs to get up to 10th to score some points, but he's got to get himself within 2 of Dark Viper, and you got to remember, Sproat's got a 5-second time penalty to go, and Dark Viper is just lighting up the timing boards purple, and he'll get another here. That's Matty DNF 13 that he is going to masterfully get by with the help of the driver's aid of drag reduction system, which will give an extra 50 brake horsepower along the straight in these F2 machineries. But you really get the sense that Dark Viper is just trying to build gaps right now. He knows that he's just got to get every point he can and be safe at 8th, which is Dirk. And there is Adam Sanderson and GB68 going at it right now. So that's going to be good news. And he'll know that the medium tyre runners are going to fade and fade and fade. And I think Dark Viper has got his 5 seconds that he wants over 8th place and currently is safe.
Absolutely. Remember, top 15 score points in the feature race. So we'll have to wait and see where everyone ends up with all of the 5-second penalties and 3-second penalties that are going to be assigned at the end of the race. GWATS has managed to stay like glue to the back of the Campos of F1 Alex. Adam Sanson, we saw a brilliant move up the inside of GB into the Variante Villeneuve chicane to take 6th place on the road. We'll chase after Matty D13, like we saw earlier as well. Dark Viper, purple tyres, purple lap time, and up into 4th place, potentially getting a podium as well, which will be huge for his playoff hopes for the driver that has been, along with GWATS, been the most impressive driver over the last couple of weeks. Been brilliant in the feature race and the sprint races. Picked up driver of the day last week as well. We'll have to wait and see because there's many candidates for driver of the day this afternoon. Not that everyone has been able to see too much of what's been going on with the PowerPoint levels of presentation going on, but hopefully we're still able to cast relatively well enough to tell you what's going on. You get a general gist of how the championship is looking. B-Roy has been caught by these two. Must be trying the no-stop strategy, you would imagine, B-Roy here.
Yeah, this is a no-stop, and I think it's actually paying off quite well. Huge slide over the curb, and all the while, you get the sense, though, that there is opportunity. Now, there is one car in trouble in the gravel in Section 1. That's going to be Luke Howick, who's found himself around, but there's the move for the race lead. F1 Alex to the inside at Piratella, and crucially, the pick GWATS follows immediately in suit and will keep F1 Alex honest until the end of this race. Yeah,
B-Roy falling off the road as the two leaders fly past and relegate him down into 3rd, and that's probably going to be 4th any time now with Dark Viper charging towards this group. And without that penalty, could be a very interesting fight for the win as GWATS makes a mistake, gets a little bit wobbly over the curb, loses a little bit of time, but should still be within DRS range. B-Roy really struggling on these medium compounded tyres that have done the majority of the race. Is going to very quickly lose 3rd place. And right as I say it, loses 3rd place to Dark Viper going off the road through the Variante Outer. Further back, who do we need to keep an eye on? Adam Sanson's got past Matty D13 in the battle for 5th and 6th. Will B-Roy come into the pits here as Scott? Crucial move for F1. Scott gets past Mr. Dale. They had a titanic battle last week for the win. They're battling over 10th and 11th in the minor points paying positions. B-Roy finally into the pits to get rid of those tyres. Dale struggling to hold on to places. F1 Alex takes the lead. Meanwhile, further back, Damien trying to put pressure on Dale. These guys can still get a decent haul of points. Sproat in particular on those super soft tyres. Got to get past these medium runners. If Sproat can get past Scott, That could be. That could maybe leave it up in the air a little bit. This is further forward. Tom on the attack, trying to get past Dirt Chocolate. That was very nice. Almost going into the diffuser of the Trident is the Road and Carlin under braking, but that is 7th place for Tom. These F1 drivers have done very nicely. GB's has some excellent pace in 6th, and Tom moving up into 7th now with Matty D13 in 5th also.
Well, it's about who's going to score what, and Dark Viper's looking like he's going to be on course for a podium. 3rd place, I think, is what he's going to put in his back pocket. So for the likes of F1 Scott, I think he's done just about enough to confirm his place in comparison to Spro 8. Spro 8's going to need to leapfrog a whole bunch of positions plus 5 seconds if he wants what he needs. Dark Viper thinking about it on GWAT and not able to find the move. But again, it's about exit. Can he get exit? Oh, he can get exit. The tyres, you certainly sense that he's got a bucket load more grip than anybody else out there. And Dark Viper up to 2nd on the circuit. But with 5 seconds, you look around, most drivers will look at penalties and go, that's 3. But when it's 5, you feel like you've got a little bit more luxury.
Yeah, I wonder if he's going to be able to pass F1 Alex with just 2 laps to go. Here are the penalty situations as Scott gets past Dirt Chocolate. They're battling over 8th and 9th down into Revat. So this is crucial as Dale gets a bit wobbly in the background. It's the PHM versus the Road and Carlin. I think Scott is probably going to take this as we come out of the final corner, both with the DRS rear wing flap open. It's car number 16 versus car number 3. And I think it's going to be Scott who halves his driver number to move up into 8th place ahead of Dirt, who's struggling to hold on to places on those medium tyres at this stage. Penalty-wise, Dark Viper with 5. Sproat has 5. Probably going to curtail his chances as Dale continues to fall through the field. Then Luke Howick, B-Roy, and yours sincerely. Big wobble there for, I think that is Tom going through the Variante Villeneuve. Scott's going to try an ambitious one around the outside. He gets a nudge from Dirt Chocolate behind. Little bit indecisive from the PHM driver of Scott. And is now going to try and swing it around the outside of Tom. Through Tozer we go. Dark Viper's picked up another penalty though.
That puts him up to 8 seconds worth of penalty now, and that might drop him outside the top 5. So that's going to be quite massive for Dark Viper. He's got to keep it within the lines. There's a massive gap there, and F1 Scott will take his 3 seconds of penalty too. So now it starts to kick up this 6-pack challenge with a couple of laps to go. Everybody is just hoping to stay on the island as it's going to be holes in the raft that they're dealing with and penalties flying about galore.
Off the road is Damien clattering over the curb. Scott's got more penalties as he flies over the sausage curb. It was Sprout sending it down the inside of the Variante Alta to move up into 9th place. Dale has flown past all of them in the process of this on his 10-lap old medium tyres. This is crazy stuff going on here. We're going to need a calculator as we started the last lap of the race. Dark Viper's right on the back of F1 X, but he's got 8 seconds of penalties. It's going to throw him down the field. Scott could still be safe. Sprout could still be safe.
They could all still be safe here, but Sprite's the one who's really got to motor. He's really got to find it because he's the one on the bubble, not F1 Scott. F1 Scott is safe so long as he stays close to Sprite. He's got 1 second's worth more of penalty than what Sprite's got, but he's going to be all right there. But the key right now is going to be near the front of the field with Dark Viper and F1 Alex, because Dark Viper's going to want to take the victory on circuit, but the question will be, what is he going to be able to do? And there are yellows out in sectors 1 and 2, because that's F1 Dale, and that's a huge accident with Luke Howick.
Well, Dale just stopped on the circuit there. Not really sure what he was doing, but the Van Alsford ploughing into the back of the Campos driver as Dark Viper and F1X are squabbling for the lead on the final lap of the race. There's contact. You don't want to spin there. That'll certainly curtail your playoff hopes as Dark Viper stays in 2nd place for the time being. Where's he going to finish? Maybe in 5th or 6th if I try and do some quick maths. It's going to be very difficult. Penalty for Matty D13 late on. He's got 5 seconds for corner cutting and now 3 seconds. He's gone to 8. What's going on? We don't know. We're going to have to wait for everyone to cross the line and then do some mental maths. It's going to be a drag race out of the final corner though. Dark Viper needs as many places as possible. He's going to be squeezed to the inside, but I don't think he's quite going to do it over the line, ending up 24 thousandths back. G-Watts is up. He is going to finish in 2nd place and be in those playoffs. Dark Viper's falling. Is it going to be 5th place? I think it is. Matty D13. Sproat's going to come over the line as he passes Tom into the Rivatsa curve. He's going to cross the line in 7th, but he's also got 5 seconds of penalties. Scott's got 6 seconds.
I think Sprite's going to be the one on the outside looking in here. I think F1 Scott's going to be fine, but I think it's Sprite who's going to be on the wrong side. Dark Viper's done enough.
Well, we need to get some kind of maths going on. G-Watts is safe. That's what we know. He picked up. We'll switch to our faces while we watch the end of it. I've got my trusty pen and whiteboard still here through all the troubles that we've had. But if we draw an arrow there, Watts is safe, was on 87, is definitely through. I think Scott will get 6 points, move it to 101. So Scott should be okay as well. Somehow we're not dropping any frames, but on the stream it looks a little bit ropey. Dark Viper was 5th, I believe it was. We'll go through the final results. Again, for everybody watching, we're right at the end of the race. The issues are out of our hands with the lagginess of the stream, so we've turned it into a radio show, effectively. Hopefully for the F1 it is a little bit better. But when you drop no frames and stay on the maximum bitrate for the entirety of it, sometimes there's nothing you can do, but hey-ho, we'll have to see what is going. But we'll be able to quickly see the results. We'll just switch away from that and read them to you, because there's no point just looking at that any longer. So, do you want to take us through while I try and do some maths?
It was a race, really, where it was a tale of two cities, but it was F1 Alex who was able to hold off in the end. He was challenged to the line, but on pace. You had the not G-Watts there, or G-Watts then second, confirming his place through. Adam Sanderson would take third ahead of G68, giving a great showing in the Prema, and then Dark Viper with 8 seconds worth of penalty, dropping down the order. Matty DNF will end up in 6th position, with Tom in 7th, Dirt in 8th. You then had Spro 8 finishing off in 9th position, which might just be the outside looking in, and F1 Scott's 10th place, just enough to get him through. F1 Damien, B-Roy, Hoodie P and Mr. Dale made up 14 drivers then in terms of their finish, and the rest of the drivers ran into a considerable amount of trouble over the course of this race. But one thing is for certain, nothing is ever for certain when it comes to the F2 series of the creators.
Well, G-Watts is in, Dark Viper is in, and Scott is in. So I do believe that it is Spro who misses out, unfortunately enough, because he was in the playoffs for a long time for the majority of the season, but does miss out right at the death. If we can get that confirmed, so that we don't have to rely on my slightly dodgy maths, yeah, we'll have to get that confirmed. But I think we should do some very quick interviews, and maybe we can recover it for the final moments of the stream. We've got F1 Alex and G-Watts, who had a really good battle for the lead. We didn't catch most of it, but they had a really nice scrap for first and second. Who would you like to bring in first?
You got to start with the winner, don't you?
Do we bring F1 Alex in? Bring F1 Alex. Confirmed in the playoffs, of course, although it was pretty much confirmed before we started. F1 Alex, hello, hello. A very good job. You did exactly what you needed to do. The playoffs were already pretty much confirmed, but nice to be taking some good form into the playoffs after a very, very good result.
Yeah, and I think that was what I wanted to come in. Obviously, Dale started at the back, so that kind of helped me out a little bit. But I kind of said to myself, you know what? If I can do well this race and carry it over to the playoffs, then then we'll take that, and we got a win. So yeah, it's all good.
You must be feeling confident, because the sprint race didn't go exactly to plan. You picked up, I think it was 1 point in there. Managed to work your way through the field nicely. But the feature race, the pace was really good. Nice little battle with G-Watts at the end. Drag race up to the line with Dark Viper 2. You were very much in the thick of the action towards the sharp end of the field.
Yeah, when I was having a practice this week, I've not had that much practice. I've been at work. I saw everyone's setups, and I was like, they had a crazy high wing and a really low wing. So I was like, IMOLA. The DRS, the ERS is not that powerful. So I'm going to up my wings, and I'm going to go for more of a race strategy. And I was just talking to Gwatz in the interview room, and he said straight away, he said, you were running high wings, and I was. And it worked a treat. I managed to keep with people in the corners, and yeah, luckily I got the overtake on Gwatz. And yeah, we got the win.
The one thing that I've certainly, in terms of the way that your race went about, is that your ability to serve tyre certainly helped around those that were there. In terms of the form that you're looking to take going into the playoffs, having that ability to save tyre better than anybody else out there in the field, that give you a little bit more of an advantage and more flexibility in terms of your strategies?
Yeah, so I actually, I said to my chat, I think it was coming up to the end of my first stint on Super Softs, I noticed that I was about 8 to 9 tenths back throughout up until that point, and then I started to catch him quite a lot. And I then took that over to the second stint, where I also said, if I'm still behind him with 3 or 4 laps to go, I'm going to have the better tyre, because he was burning through his rubber like crazy. So yeah, no, that was one of the reasons that I got the win, just to have the advantage at the end. Then I managed, I think, about a 2-second gap, and I think that was, our pace was exactly the same. I really do think our pace was, and I just think it was down to the tyre in the end.
What are the thoughts going into the playoffs? Obviously, last season in the playoffs, it didn't quite work out as you would have hoped. Being a bit more confident, you've had probably a better season than you did last time out. What are your expectations?
Yeah,
do you think you can get up?
Yes.
Confident.
Yeah, I think when it comes, because I believe, is it 5 races and 2 F2 races? 2 F2, 3 F1. So the plan is to do a Matty D and hopefully win the F2 races. If I win both F2 races and score well in one of the F1 races, I think it'll see me up. But I'm gonna focus more on the 2 F2 races, and see what I can get out of the F1 races. Obviously, I've looked at I don't know who's in the drop zone at the minute, but they're quicker than me. So I think it's a case of do well in the F2 because they might struggle. Because they're completely different cars. Although I think Hayden in the bottom 5?
I think.
Ah, right. Well, we'll do our best. But no, I am feeling confident. We'll go full send and we'll see what we get.
Cool. And we will see you then. So very well done this season. Weren't quite able to take the title, unfortunately.
No.
A very, very good job. And we will see you in those playoffs.
Certainly will. Thanks, guys. Thanks for your commentary this season. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for talking after. That is your race winner, F1 It's brilliant. As always, now we're going to bring in the runner-up, G-Watts, who, I mean, we've got to talk about this, mate. Hello, G-Watts. I mean, the form in the last 4 or 5 races has been outstanding.
Hello, guys. How are you all? It's lovely to speak to you again.
Yeah,
it's yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. It sounds bad, but like, I think I'm a pretty busy guy, so I don't find the time to practice that much. But I knew that, I knew we could potentially win at the feature and have a good weekend. So I actually locked in. I had to lock in just for this week. But yeah, once I saw playoffs were on the cards, it's time to stop messing about, basically. Yeah.
Well, because oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jake.
No, I'll go ahead. What's clicked for you then? Because the first half of the season wasn't the kettle of fish that you were looking for, but obviously you've had that ability to understand this F car. What are the intricacies that you think have really benefited you in terms of reaching that next level? You and I are unstoppable.
Well, thank you very much, Jay. Well, there's 2 things, because obviously, even in like sim racing, it's not always a one-man show. I know he's going to make him cringe a little bit, but my good friend Kareem, he's like a top 0.5% player, and he's been helping me quite a lot. He's been coaching me, obviously, because we played the game anyway, so it kind of just started happening naturally. He helps with strategy. We work on the setups together. And the other thing, I had the Logitech wheel, like the £200 one, strapped to my desk for 3 years. And like 2 months ago, after the first race of the season, I got a Moza R9. So the money was worth it, clearly. Well, not really, but that was the 2 main things, I think. Just getting the better equipment to help understand the car more, and then a little bit of coaching on the side as well. But yeah.
Well, how are you feeling going into the playoffs, though? Because the form, if we look at your last 4 feature races, it's 3rd, 4th, 4th, and 2nd, plus the sprint race victory. I mean, surely you've got to be one of the favourites with this kind of form.
Well, I hope so. It's I think it's weird because my time trial times aren't the best on F2, and also like I feel like everyone knows me as like the F1 meme YouTuber, So I kind of like being the underdog. I think no matter what, I will be, just because like that's what people know my name for. But yeah, I don't know. I think I like to say, although it sounds cringe, I think I do quite well under the pressure. Like I enjoy the pressure, So I think we're looking good. I think the F1 guys, not to be this guy, but like we're all good in F2, but they forget that we're all better in F1 than we are at F2 because the F2 cars are so hard. So yeah, I think all the F2 guys have got a really good shot to go to F1. Honestly, I'd be willing to say.
I think we've seen some brilliant race out of you, and in terms of the season, that build up strength, understanding, you feel got with the new steering wheel. It's all there. It's all putting together. But now you put yourself in the position of playoff mindset, where it is going to be that dichotomy of, okay, you got 3 F1 races, you got 2 F2 races. So in terms of how you make the balance, what's going to be your game plan with that shift between the F1 and the F2 car? Because yes, they drive different. Yes, most people say, oh, we drive the F1 car more. But what's the real emphasis for you on getting that extra horsepower and that extra downforce compared to here, where you strip that back and it's more about the technical aspect?
I don't know. I think it's tricky. I think the game plan, because we've done so much F2, the F2 guys especially, we can kind of put a bit of a hold on it. Because when I played this game, I very rarely, as soon as the playoffs were like a real possibility, I very rarely played F1. So for the last 3 weeks, so I think the game plan is just obviously, you know, because there's a chance that F2 tracks could have been tracks we've already done. So that makes it even better because we've already practiced. So I think like it'll be 60-40 for F1, maybe like 65-35 leaning towards F1. Because I felt like the F2 we've got down already. And I think because when you understand the car, you can get on any track and within a few laps, you can kind of understand what you're doing, you know. I think the game plan will be focused a bit more on F1 if we can. But yeah, just try to not bottle it, basically. Try to not bottle it.
We're the 4-man going into the playoffs, so we wish you the best of luck and thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to say as well, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I just want to say, my GOAT, B-Roy. B-Roy should be in the playoffs with us. He had a very unlucky championship this season, and we had some great battles all season. B-Roy made it a very fun season for me specifically, so just want to give my love to B-Roy because he should be in the playoffs, but we'll see him next season, hopefully. So sorry, I'm so sorry to interrupt you talking then. I'm so sorry.
I just agree with that. Because,
I just had to say that. B-Roy should be in the playoffs, mate. Not that anyone doesn't deserve it. I just think he had a few very unlucky races. So, yeah, I just had to give my love to my GOAT, B-Roy. Thank you, guys.
Well, I mean, a shout out to any of your competitors would be much appreciated. But thank you for talking to us.
Yeah, guys, thank you for the great questions.
I'm going to have to apologise because
thank you.
I've just defaulted to calling you G-Watts, even though I know it's Gwats.
No, it's all right. You know what, bro? I love you, mate. You're a great commentator, so you can call me G-Watts. I don't mind. You get the pass to call me G-Watts. Honestly, I don't even care. So I'll give you that. All right.
I'll
give you that.
With that then, as a
all right. Thanks, bro.
But thank you for talking to us. It's been a pleasure as always, and we'll see you.
Thank you, guys. Great commentary as usual. Appreciate it, guys. See you all soon, hopefully. Goodbye.
Well, wasn't the most successful in the history of the Craze series, but we got there. And playoffs wise, F1 Alex in there along with Scott, Dark Viper, G-Watt Squats as we've just spoken to, and obviously Dale, champion Spro, I believe the driver that just missed out right at the death. It was a fascinating finale of what we managed to see of it, at least. It was very fun to watch. Jake, do you have any words just to summarise what we've seen?
I think we saw what made Create series so brilliant. I think that despite the fact that we had to deal with the slideshow, and sometimes we can't deal with that in terms of what we with, so unfortunately we're going to have to go back to the drawing board, find out what went wrong, and go again. What we dealt with in terms of race was a case of the fast drivers proving that they've got pace and that they ran their own race today, and those who had it wanted it, and they were those right around the bubble who wanted to jump themselves in. Those who didn't had either a little bit of misfortune getting stuck in the middle of the pack, or B, just finding the wrong place, wrong time, wrong penalty. And I think that that's going to be the key in terms of how they go into the playoff. That those who have got the pace can prove easily that they've got the pace, but you've got to show it over 5 races, 2 different types of machinery, and you've got to go out there and put your level best foot forward. So you've got to ask the question, those 5 who are coming down compared to those 5 who are trying to get up, those 5 getting up have got chips on the shoulder. That's been a tough chance. So watch out. I reckon we could see 3, maybe 4 go from the F1 division down into F2 because of just how competitive it's had to be.
Couldn't agree more. It's been fun as always. We know the 4 that will be in the playoffs from F2, and we will now hand over in about half an hour's time, 3 minutes, to see who will go down, from F1. It's going to be very interesting to see. Thank you everybody who has stuck with us with all the issues. Hopefully we try to make it as bearable as possible. Sometimes things happen, so hopefully that is all fixed for the F1. And yeah, from me and from Jake, it's been a pleasure as always. Yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.